There's a line. Okay.
All right, let's go ahead and call to order the meeting of Templeton Community Services District Board of Directors. Today is June 4th, 7 p.m. Roll call, please.
Directors Hardonish.
Here.
Logan.
Here.
Pearson.
Here.
And Peterson.
Here. Pledge of allegiance, please stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order of business. Do any board members like to change the order of the business? No, everything's good. Okay. Special reports. We're going to begin with recognition of our outgoing board member, Director Giardini. So I'm just gonna get up if you don't mind stepping to the podium so we could be on the Director Giardini. We have a plaque here for you. Let me just go ahead and read this. In recognition of your dedication and years of service to the residents of Templeton, the Board of Directors of Templeton Community Services District, on behalf of its residents, sincerely thanks you for your loyalty and commitment to the Templeton community. As this is presented by Board of Directors, and we wish you the very best in all your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Thank you for serving. Thank you very much.
Working with you.
It was very nice working.
Good to work with you. Yeah. Thank you. Good luck for the next couple.
You don't have to say.
Maybe. Come over with beer or you don't get let in. Maybe vodka straight up with you.
Okay. Hi, Pam.
Now is our sheriff's turn.
Sheriff's turn for an award.
Sheriff's turn. You don't get a hug.
No hugs, no awards. Good evening, Michael Manueli, Commander, Sheriff's North Station. I have a report for May 2024. That wasn't my voice cracking. Okay, calls for service for May. The station received 1,534 calls for service compared to last year, 1,720, a drop of 11%. Templeton had 308 calls for service compared to last year, 378, a drop of about 19%. Compared to San Miguel, which had 168 calls for service. From those calls for service, the station generated 234 reports compared to last year, 238, a 2% drop, not very significant. The Templeton district had 56 reports compared to last year, 92, which I found to be exceptionally high. So it was a drop of 39% year over year. Accordingly, San Miguel had 22 reports. Breaking those calls for service down into particular areas, assault and battery, we had 6 calls for service, generating 3 reports. Deputies were called to the hospital emergency room for an individual who was assaulted and injured in the workplace. We had 20 disturbance calls, generating 3 reports. We responded to a family disturbance in which was reported to be caused by a subject with multiple personalities. We also had a call for service regarding a mother fighting with her adult son. And then lastly, a person with medical disability reportedly stole the caretaker's vehicle and was acting bizarre. Burglaries, there were 2 calls for service generating 1 report. The report was for items stolen out of a trailer park on property. Thefts, there were 3 calls for service generating 2 reports. There's a report of a subject shoplifting from a local store, and then a store employee left a set of keys outside on the trash can, and later discovered someone had taken those by reviewing video surveillance. Interestingly enough, both of those calls for service were at the same location. Vandalism, 2 calls, generating 1 report. An unknown subject damaged the victims. Let me get my wording straight. An unknown subject damaged the victim's car by keying both sides of the vehicle paint. Trespassing, there were 4 calls for service. None of them generated reports. A subject was seen going through the horse stables on private property. Horses later got out. Let's see, there was a call reporting a subject hiding behind a tree. Upon further investigation, that subject was determined to be balloons. No scams to report. I have seen some recent teletypes where people are going to banks and making cash withdrawals. These people, thieves, are waiting for those people to make the withdrawals. They follow them outside and then they drop cash on the ground. The thieves drop cash on the ground, distract the person that just made a withdrawal while they're handling that, the drop cash and taking care of that. Someone else comes in behind him and steals. The one I saw recently was $17,000 in cash that occurred in Santa Maria. That same crew was reported in Northern California. So they're just working through the counties and going through that. So they could have very well been in our area. Suspicious circumstances. There were 10 calls for service, generating 1 report. A caller found a baggie containing possible narcotics. Notable. Summer is almost upon us. Schools will be letting out soon, breaking for summer. I suspect there will be an increase in thefts from vehicles and mailboxes and anything valuable left outside, and encourage people to keep all the valuables locked up, keep their vehicles locked. If you do have to leave something in your vehicle, make sure it's hidden out of sight. And that is my report for this month.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the commander? No. Awesome. Very nice. Well, thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it.
Right. I'll hang around for it.
Well, yeah, stay cool in here, huh?
That's exactly right.
Okay. Next item is public comment. Members of the public may address the board on any items of interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board, but not on the agenda today. In compliance with the Brown Act, the board cannot discuss or act on items not on the agenda. Any public members that want to make comment today? No? Okay. Thank you. We go ahead and move on to consent agenda. We have 3 items on the consent agenda. We have the minutes from May 7th, 2024. We also have the treasurer's report. This is the March 24 treasurer's report, and we have resolution number 05-2024, which is the weed abatement resolution, declaring weeds and debris to be a public nuisance. And does any board member want to pull any items for discussion? Any public member want to pull any items? No? Okay. If not, then I would entertain a motion on the consent agenda, please.
So I'll make a motion that the board approve the consent agenda, items A, the minutes of the May 7th, 2024 meeting, item B, the treasurer's report for the period ending March of 2024, and item C, resolution number 05-2024, weed abatement.
Right. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Dr. Peterson, second. Okay, roll call, please.
Directors Logan,
Aye.
Peterson,
Yes.
Pearson, aye, and Bardonish.
Aye. The motion passes 4-0. Okay, next item is selection of board vice president. So we need to select the vice president to serve the remainder of the year because Director Giardini resigned. So I guess just open it up for.
Yeah, I just outlined the process that you did in December, and it's recommended that we follow that same process to select somebody for the remainder of the year.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and open it up for nomination for a vice president. I guess I'll nominate Director Peterson since he was nominated last time. Any other nominations? Okay, I'll go ahead, close the nomination, and then take the roll call.
Directors Logan,
Aye.
Pearson,
You can abstain.
Peterson,
Aye.
and for Donish.
Aye. So the motion passes 3 and 1 abstain. So Director Peterson is now vice chair. Congrats.
Thank you.
Not to go. I could go home now. Okay, the next item is filling of board vacancies. So this is our general manager.
Sure, and I did want to say that David Hirsch is available on Zoom and has been reviewing some of these requirements with me as we've gone through this process. So just by way of background, Pamela Giardini resigned from her board member seat effective May 28th and is no longer on the board. We have a vacancy for her seat. Her seat goes through this December. So most of the remainder of 2024. And then Lou Pearson submitted her resignation a week ago, effective June 30th. And so board member Pearson's seat would be deemed vacant as of June 30th, and her seat runs through December of 2026. So about 2 years and 5 months of what I'll term anticipated vacancy or future vacancy. So the process of filling these seats, you have a couple choices, and if you don't take action, then the county has a couple of choices. You may fill either seat within 60 days of the date of vacancy by appointing a replacement for that term. For Giardini's seat, that's very simple. The vacancy occurred in the final 2 years of her term. If you appoint somebody within 60 days of May 28th, they can fulfill the remainder of Giardini's term through early December 2024. For Pearson's seat, it's a little trickier. It's actually the vacancy is occurring in the first half of the term. It's a 4-year term that started in December of 2022. However, if the vacancy occurs within 130 days of the election that would follow the general district election, so this November election, if the vacancy occurs within 130 days, it's as if the vacancy occurred in the second half of the term. So you can appoint a replacement. That's just by a couple of days here. If the vacancy were to occur at a different time, it might necessitate an election. But the vacancy is anticipated to occur on June 30th. That's 128 days before the election. And so you may appoint a replacement that can serve the remainder of that term. So a full 2 years and 4 months or so, depending on when the appointment is made. In both cases, your opportunity to appoint expires or lapses 60 days following the vacancy occurrence. So in Giardini's case, that's July 27th, and in Pearson's case, that's the end of August. You may also choose to call an election for either of these terms. It gets a little bit tricky. In the Giardini case, the next election is on November 5th, and the result that election wouldn't be expected to be certified until about December 1st. And so if the election were held, there's no certainty that that's the case, but if the election were held, it would be to fill a seat that would have like a handful of days left on it, because there's already going to be an election for that seat for the following 4 years. In Pearson's case, for that seat, if the election isn't called until after the term becomes vacant, so June 30th, it wouldn't be held until next March, because that would be within 130 days of the November election. So it's a little confusing here, but you could choose to fill that seat by election. Likely that election will be held next March. It's a regular election day, but it'd be a special election just for CSD. If you fail to either call for an election or appoint somebody within 60 days of these vacancies occurring in either seat, the opportunity rolls to the County Board of Supervisors. They have 90 days total to do the same things, appoint somebody or call for an election. Now, for Giardini's seat, they won't have an opportunity to call for an election because it'll be way too close to the election to make that possible. So they could appoint somebody, but at that point it would be just for a couple of months. Or if they took no action, it would just remain vacant for the remainder of the term. For the Pearson seat, the election would, if you took no action and went to the county board of supervisors, they could call for the election. It would likely be held next March. They could also appoint somebody for the remainder of the term, just as you could. My expectation would be they would look to us to look to Templeton CSD to create a recommendation for that appointment. That's exactly what they did in 2022 when you recommended Ms. Pearson to serve, to be appointed to this seat that we're speaking of. So I know it's a little confusing. There are, there's a current vacancy, there's an anticipated vacancy. The options are kind of the same for both, but the timeline is kind of a month apart for each because of the effective dates of the vacancies. Now, so if you have questions about the intricacies of that, David Hirsch is available to answer them, or about your options. What staff had put forward is, one, we don't recommend the result being either of these seats being filled. It's so ideally you'd have a full 5-member board and not run into positions where you couldn't create quorums or might have trouble getting business done, etc. At a bare minimum, we fill one of the seats. The priority at this point would be the seat that has in my mind, that has the longer duration remaining. If there was only one person who was interested, for example. Our recommendation was that you attempt to appoint persons to those seats, and that you would recruit for these openings together. It's of course, if you started now, it'd be after the Giardini vacancy has occurred. And if you recruited for the longer term, the longer seat, the Pearson seat as well, it would be before the effective date of the vacancy, but we have been notified that we have this expected vacancy or anticipated vacancy. We would recommend under that scenario that we would make this issue known, issue press releases. We have to post the notice of vacancy in at least 3 places, and it has to be posted for at least 15 days before you make your decision to appoint. And of course, that appointment should take place within 60 days of the vacancy itself occurring. So because of those factors, our recommendation was to make it known that we've got we're facing these circumstances. We're looking for residents that are interested in serving on the board. Ask them to apply for either the 2 years plus seat or the 4 or 5 month available seat, or both. And that we would request those come in to you, about the 9th of July, make those available to the board, invite those applicants or those interested parties to come before the board at your July 16th meeting, and then that you would make an appointment on July 6th for one or both seats, and those folks could take their seat and begin their service immediately. The reason I noted July 16th, technically you can do this on July 2nd, that's your first meeting in July, but I didn't want there to be that's a holiday week, and there might be some folks that are out of town or otherwise occupied, because the 4th of July falls during the week on a Thursday, and probably not an issue, but I wanted to give every opportunity for as much interest to surface as possible, and that's why we made that recommendation. So happy to answer any questions or try to clarify any of this advice.
Okay, great, thank you. And does our attorney have anything to add? Any comments you'd like to add?
Not really. I think Jeff's staff report and his presentation just now laid it out very clearly. The statute is a bit confusing in terms of how it applies, given the different time frames that are set out in terms of vacancies that occur in the first half or second half, and when these actually have occurred or will be occurring in one case. But I think Jeff laid the options out very clearly and very well, so I don't really have anything to add.
Great, thank you. Any questions for either our attorney or general manager? Yes, go ahead.
I don't have a question, it's basically a comment. I agree with what the general manager has recommended. We definitely don't want to go through a election and have to spend how much money, 5,000 or whatever.
Yeah, I don't actually, it'd probably be quite a bit more if it ends up being a special election, because all of the costs would be on us, as opposed to
So, I mean, I think the priority would be to pick somebody for the longer term, and hopefully maybe somebody would want that shorter term. If they did, they may want to run again in November, but I like the plan, and I said, let's get the information we need to get out to the public out there, see what happens.
Yeah, I also support the staff's recommendation to fill the longer term position. I also want to mention that if someone is looking for that shorter term position too, the county election office, because I went to the website to see what information they have in terms of if you're looking to file for the November election, they have a meeting scheduled June 27th at the SLO Events Hall. And that's where they're going to provide information about elections.
Well, we'll add that just and it's a little off topic, but we have an elections page on our website now that has these dates, and we'll add a link to that meeting so anyone who's looking at.
So I think that would be important so that the individual understands what's expected of them and the time frame for filing for that longer term, for the short term for Director Giardini's position.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I also would suggest, and it's not in my staff report, that we would put information in this about the upcoming election, just in case somebody were to, read it. They know that. I'm
hoping that there are individuals in the community who are looking to serve, and I've already kind of spec'd that out. But if not, I think it would be helpful to include that.
Let me go to public. Any public comments? Oh, all right, we'll just come back to. This is just directions, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're if you could make a decision like calling for the election today if you wished, but if it's about appointment, you cannot make an appointment today because you haven't posted this in 15 days. So we would just simply need, if you want to follow through with the appointment process for one or both, and you like the way we've suggested that we sort of simultaneously, then just directing us to do that, and then just I would want any clarification. Are you good with the July 16th date? That's your second meeting in July, so that would occur within the 60 days of Giardini's resignation, so it satisfies that requirement, wouldn't happen during that holiday week.
And
yeah.
Just my only concern is we don't have any. Are we going to have a meeting on July 2nd?
Well, I mean, so
matters that we need to make sure.
Well, the problem is July 2nd is only 3 weeks away, and I think with the holiday, that holiday is on a Thursday, the 4th of July. So you're right, if there's people who are leaving town. So the 16th allows for 6 weeks, which I think is a good amount of time to do a press release out there, to have people inquire to determine whether or not they want to throw their hat in the ring, and then bring it before the board. I think trying to do it on the 2nd might be pushing it a bit.
Yeah, I think so too. It would be, we barely comply with that. We would comply, but not by a lot with the 15-day requirement. You wouldn't be giving folks a whole lot of extra time to make that decision. Yeah, right now I don't have any items that we've tentatively listed for July 2nd. The longer you go before making these appointments, there's going to be a period of time, whether it's 3 days or 17 days between, with only having 3 members of the board. And so that does pose a risk. It's just something we'll have to be super cognizant of. I guess the first question is, will the 3 of you that are still board members come July 16th, are you committed to being here on July 16th? Because it won't work if you're not. We're going to need all 3 people in attendance to have a meeting. And we're going to need any vote in order to approve any item, 3 positive votes. So if there are only 3 board members, so that's going to be the case on July 2nd, at the beginning of the meeting, no matter what. A 2-to-1 vote is not a passing vote. So we're going to need 3 people here, and it takes three votes to approve something.
I can't disagree with that.
Oh, you can disagree with him, but it would not be if you voted no on something you voted yes for, it would be a failing vote.
So are you, so do you have a different recommendation? Do you think we
No,
should do? Well, here's my thought is, because you're doing one, public communication,
Yes.
correct, for both positions. So I guess, yeah, so I was thinking if you
I
could split it, but
think
then
it would just be more confusing to
Yeah,
people.
it
If we're
would,
gonna communicate, just put all the information out there, then they can decide whether they're, you know, interested in the longer term. I've tried to think of people that, I mean, this short-term vacancy, maybe not for everybody, right? I mean, you're only gonna be here for 3 or 4 months or something, and you know, if these are new issues, that you may not be able to feel like you're
If
making.
you were somebody in the community who was perhaps considering running for the November election.
Yes.
Then it's already kind of, you're just getting.
A head start.
Yeah, an early start, so to speak. So I don't think that that's an issue, because there may be some people who were looking to do that. Right, Eric?
Yeah, do you understand it, Eric? Okay.
And I've put some fillers out to some individuals as well, who I thought may want to consider.
So if you,
but I think allowing 6 weeks allows for that communication to go out and for people to inquire and for the information to come before the board.
so if we proceed as recommended, then we would be posting this information, whichever news media covers it. We'll post it on our website. It'll have to be posted and physically posted in at least 3 spots. So like our bulletin boards here and at Parks and Recreation and one other place. And then my plan was also just to send this information directly to the 2022 applicants or people who sought the recommendation to serve on the board. And then also to all of the members of residents who have served on committees. Is recall that you created this committee, resident on the committee role in part to help fill future board vacancies. And so I'd want to we want to make sure they're aware of it as well. So, you know, that's
monthly filler too. I think that's what you guys did in 2022 as well.
That might be too late.
Because it comes out the June 20.
Yeah, if it would make it at the end of July. I mean, it'd come out just like a week's notice. But yeah, we could do that.
It couldn't hurt. Yeah.
Right, and so we all agree, just go with the recommendation, staff recommendation.
Direction to proceed July 16th would be the date you would first consider appointment.
Sure. Sounds good.
And we aren't gonna have a meeting on the 4th, the 2nd?
I guess we don't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I think why don't I do my best to see over the next couple of weeks, and if it's likely we won't have it, I'll put a cancellation at your next meeting for July 2nd.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't want to put you in a, you know, we don't want to be in a spot where we have a meeting, we don't have it. You know, right now I'm going to plan not to put anything that I need to have done on July 2nd because I'm not real comfortable about it.
Well, we don't have any tentative agenda items for July 2nd at this point. We have 2 items for July 16th, and this would be a 3rd item.
Okay. I will say those items.
All right.
Well, thank you. Okay,
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, David.
Bye-bye.
Have a good evening. All right, discussion item, it's role of facilities committee. I guess there was an issue that came up at the previous facilities committee. We need as a board.
Yeah.
How we want to move forward.
There was so the facilities committee recommended that the board tackle this issue, and the issue is and I've got it outlined here, that your bylaws refer to state the board's facility committee shall be concerned with the maintenance and operation of all land, buildings, and facilities, period. Our historic use of the facilities committee has been by and large tied to water and wastewater facilities or water and wastewater utilities issues, and not necessarily broader issues like this building or the fire station or the community center. That's not to say that the committee's never tackled an item like that. And actually, we compiled a list of all the items that you've looked at, the committee's looked at in like 23 years. And they're attached if you really want to go through them all, and you'll see that almost all of them are utilities related. However, we had new members on the facilities committee, and there was a disagreement about what the role of the committee was, and that it was requested that the board kind of tackle this issue. And so our recommendation is, if you to prevent this lack of clarity going forward, if you wish the facilities committee to be concerned with issues that it has historically been concerned with, we should rename the committee something like Water and Wastewater Utilities Committee, or just Utilities Committee, something that makes it clear that we're talking about items specific to utility issues. And if you wish to have a committee that's concerned with land and buildings, etc., then we likely need a utilities committee, because there is no place for those items. There's no other committee for those items to logically go to. And then furthermore, if you do that, then we should talk about how we deal with future topics at like parks, because for many years now, if there's been an issue related to parks maintenance or a park improvement, it's gone to the Parks, Recreations, and Refuse Committee. And if there's been an issue related to the fire station expansion or fire station building issue, it's gone to the Fire Committee, Fire and Emergency Management Committee, and not the Facilities Committee. So I think in hindsight, in reading the bylaws, they really don't, the current bylaws, the definition of the Facilities Committee or the name Facilities Committee does not reflect how you're practicing using the committee. So, Board Member Peterson attended the committee meeting when this item came up, and he's happy to seek additional clarification.
All right, questions?
No questions. I have comments, but no questions at this time.
Okay, I go to the public. Any questions on this item, the role of Facilities Committee? No questions or comments from public? Okay, I'll come back to the board.
I have a comment. I mean, it was my opinion, because this kind of blindsided me. First time I went to facilities meeting, the first item on the agenda was to talk about the buildings and everything of the whole CSD. And I asked a simple question: why are we doing this? And so for the next hour, we discussed it. So again, I really believe that it makes no sense to have the fire department have to go to another committee to discuss their facilities and what they're doing there. I mean, to me, it doesn't work right. Or Parks and Rec, they have to go to a facilities special meeting. I think it's just another meeting that we're adding that doesn't make any sense to me anyway. And again, ever since the beginning of time, we've done it this way. I mean, the fire department does everything that has to do with the fire department, Parks and Rec. Facilities just handles the maintenance in the facilities area. So I'm all for changing the name of the committee.
Okay, and then, you're for changing the name of committee and maintaining what we do, what we've done historically.
Right.
So I concur. I think that the way the bylaw currently is stated, there's some ambiguity that I could see why there would be that discussion at the Utilities Committee meeting, because it says the Board Facilities Committee shall be concerned with all maintenance and operations in all land and buildings and facilities. So that's pretty broad in scope. But I also agree that each department should be responsible, or each committee that we currently have should be responsible for the building, facilities, and land within that committee. So Parks and Rec should have their own discussion. Fire should have their own discussion, even admin and finance. Because otherwise, you're right, we would have the staff attending two meetings, one on facilities and one on the regular committee. I'm not sure that we need a utilities or facilities committee that looks at just facilities, because again, I think it would be a duplication. I think it would be better served if we just rename this, as you have recommended, to be the Water and Wastewater Utilities, Committee. And that would be my recommendation, and not expand into another committee, but just rename this.
Any comments?
Yeah, I actually watched the facility committee's meeting, and I think what's gonna end up happening, there's gonna be a confusion where, you know, you're talking about the building, but somehow you will end up talking about the operations of parks or fire department, and then that's just gonna overlap, and I think it's gonna get really confusing. I think if we just stick with how we've done it historically, where Parks and Rec takes care of its own, issues with parks and facilities, and then keep fire with fire, that would be the best way forward. I think it was gonna be simplest for everyone, and that way we're not like, I think we're gonna end up having multiple committees talking about the same issues, and which doesn't make sense. Might as well just bring it to the board at that point. So I'm for just changing the name, and then I guess you would need to change the bylaw.
Yeah, so we would, it would, at your last meeting, you requested that we make a bylaw change related to appointment of somebody serving on TRF, and this would also affect the same section of the bylaws, so I held off on bringing that down. And we would, if there's consensus to change this to Water and Wastewater Utilities Committee, then I would come back with one set of revised bylaws, one resolution to adopt those and reflect those changes.
Okay, sounds good. All right. This was a direction, so we're good. Think we're good? Any more comments? No. All right. Okay. And we don't need to talk about the budget workshop because we have we're finished. We went through it 3 hours almost, so that was good. General Manager's report.
You know, I sent out a report on Saturday afternoon. I don't recall any items that I need to bring to your attention beyond that, but if you had any questions about what I noted at the time, feel free to ask.
I don't have any questions.
It had a very successful beer run on Saturday.
Yeah, that was very nice.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, all right, committee report. We have Facilities Committee report. Any questions on that? Fire and Emergency Committee. Questions, comments, public? No, okay. Administration Finance Committee, which we pretty much covered during the workshop today. Any questions, comments on that? No, okay, great. Okay, we'll move to the activity update reports, engineering. Any questions on engineering?
No, but it's nice to have an engineer now on staff.
It is.
Sure is.
So it's been long overdue and long awaited.
Finance. I just noticed, I think our the past two accounts seems like they're getting larger and larger. Is that?
This depends on the time of the month that I do the report.
Okay.
So however many payments have come in,
But
it usually hangs around $10,000, but we have a number of shut-offs and a couple that are gonna go, we'll bring to you to go to the property taxes, so.
and just, I mean, if you're thinking more long-term, like 4 years ago and beyond.
Yeah.
People never got nearly as far behind. We were shutting folks off after basically 45 days.
So now,
And now they've got to be more than 2 months behind. And so what ends up happening, it used to be something like most accounts were like $150 or
Now they can be
$200.
like
Now they're like
600.
300, 400, 500. It's just way harder for people to kind of catch up. The number's big. By the time they're facing shut off, they're like, yeah, $500.
oh,
But you're offering them payment plans.
Oh yeah, we offer them everything you can. So.
Finance, fire and emergency services. Any questions on? I have a question. 16 good intent calls. What does that include?
The cat's in the tree.
I don't think there's too many cats, but yes, it includes calls that don't fall into any other category, and I couldn't speak to any of those specific 16, but they're, you know, minor issues that don't fall in one of the other
I mean,
categories.
is it to a point like, I think I even heard like people need to get up from their chair or something, they call the fire?
Yes, it could be like it depends if like some of it might not be a medical aid. If there was really nothing wrong, it might fall in that category.
So,
Is that if they drop their TV remote? They call the fire department, they go.
Well, but I mean, I did on one of the calls with the fire department when I did a ride along, and one of the calls was to an elderly woman's home where she had fallen and she could not get up. And without the assistance of the fire department, she could succumb to the fall.
Well, I mean,
So
to
it
me,
is
that's-
a medical, to me, I see that as a medical.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to
She
say that
hurt.
it's a better. I'm sorry, the chief isn't here, but
yeah,
you know, to explain what those particular calls were. But they're items that don't fall in one of the other categories. They could be as simple as something like that, minor issues, but they may also be like someone requesting help with a smoke detector, something along those lines.
I'm just wondering in terms of,
Well, and
building and
the
things like
call that I
that.
went on, it didn't require calling any other, like an ambulance. She said she was fine. They, you know, looked her in the eyes and, you know, she appeared to be physically okay. She just fell and could not get back up on her own. So I don't know if they would categorize that as medical or a good intent.
yeah, that's what, so I was just wondering what that included, and, I mean, I mean.
So I
I
think
don't
that's
know,
a
you
good
could-
question, because it's like,
If
you know,
it's
I
16
think of the cat in the tree, you know, it's
Yeah.
like, is it a legitimate
Yeah.
call and a good use of our fire department?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, I don't want to take that opportunity from people, you know, who do have issues and things like that, but if it's just for simple stuff where it should be a caretaker type of thing, then, you know, that would be something that I think, you know, we need to consider. Because after all, you know, the firefighters are going out, it takes time and maybe it takes resources away from the true emergency. Okay, and then,
There's a cost. I mean, every time they
yeah,
call 911, we're billed for that additional cost of X amount of money and. You know,
Well,
so
and it
there's-
may be that some of these good intention calls could be resolved through perhaps some public education.
yeah.
So there may be an
So we need
opportunity
to
there.
maybe talk,
Yeah.
maybe we could talk about that at the fire committee. I think Dr. Peterson,
Yeah.
we could talk about
Get your sidekick.
that. Parks and Rec, I have I just found it interesting, let me just make sure I read this right, so for flag football, we had 356 people participating, but 166 of those players were out of Templeton, lived outside of Templeton.
That's my reading of it as well.
Yeah.
That's substantial.
But they do pay more.
They do pay
So,
more, yeah,
for being
but that,
out
I mean,
of
I was
the
just
area.
wondering
How
what the
much of those
reason.
are in district though?
Oh, so if I'm reading this, we say district in the.
School district, sorry.
Oh, there's not a breakdown of that.
There's not
Cause I know the way we pay for soccer, there's 3 tiers,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So your local,
Same.
your district, school
Yeah.
district, your
Out of-
out, live out, and then you live
Yes.
out and you go to school out. So
Yeah.
is that broken down the same?
It's not in this report, but we should have that data.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm reading the report to mean that just over half
Well, I'm
don't
just,
live in the TCSD boundaries.
yeah, so I would just,
I think flag football is probably the worst of those because it's not available everywhere.
that's what I was wondering, is that why? Is that because it's not available in a lot of places, and we must,
I think the closest, well, Paso just started a league, but the closest for a while was San Luis Obispo.
Oh, okay, so that's why.
That wouldn't count for
So
it.
yeah, I'd be curious
Oh.
how many are in school district, because they like to kind of stay with their
Yeah.
friends and
Yeah.
social circle.
Yeah, okay, so I just found that interesting. All right, great. And then utilities, any questions?
Well, Concerts in the Park is starting
Oh, that's right.
next Wednesday.
Yeah, can you
That'll
believe
be
it?
the first one,
Yeah, awesome.
so that's worth noting.
Okay, thank you. Utilities, any questions on utilities?
No, but can I do a shout out to Living the Dream? For Templeton Rec Foundation, we'll be hosting the Living the Dream. And tickets will be going on sale.
They're already
they're
live on sale. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
In August, right?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest fundraisers for TRF, so, yeah.
Should be fun, it's always fun.
Get your tickets.
It'll be funner this year.
Yeah.
Funner.
Let's do it. I'll be there.
Okay. So, all right, so
Better
that's,
venue, better food.
okay, so that's where the activity. Director's report and or comments. Any director's report? Okay, a couple of things for me. Well, I attended the same with the for the beer run. A lot of people participated. It was fun to see that, to me, it's just a great community event, and it was fun. Mel was having a blast, and everyone else. Jeff English, he helped organize the volunteers, and Lori Ion was there, so they did really, and then Mel and Bree, so they did a great job. And then on another more serious note, general manager and we attended the IWMA meeting. I don't think we've met since then.
No, that's great.
Yes.
Lucky you.
Yes.
Solid waste day.
Yeah, it was a solid waste day. It's you know, I'm actually.
It was funner.
Oh, I'm impressed with IWMA, the executive director they have. He's doing a really nice job. They're trying to include everybody, all the districts and everything. So I feel a lot more comfortable from where we were 3 or 4 years ago. And as you guys know, the county has joined as well. So it's kind of got back to normal. So that part is good. The part that's not good, it's the SB 54. It's a new rule that we're gonna have to deal with, and is regards with packaging products. And then so they claiming that it's gonna cost the producers, you know, because obviously they have to repackage everything, even like things like Coca-Cola and things like that. They have to make sure all the packaging that they use is compostable. And this is not that far long. Like I think by 2027, they're gonna have to start the first step. And then I think by 2030 or 32, everyone has to in California it's mandated to, you know, obey this, so follow this. So ultimately, it's going to cost more money. So we need to, it's going to ultimately cost the customers more money. So we should anticipate another.
Well, more money because of the packaging by the producers, or more money because IWMA is having to implement a new piece of legislation?
Yes, they're gonna implement new, and they have to also, I mean, all the waste management, they have to also make sure that is, and they have to look at every item, single item, and they have to keep track of how much is getting recycled. And so there's going to be a lot of time spent by these companies monitoring. So the whole implementation and monitoring phase of it is going to cost.
And then they'll need somebody to monitor the monitors, and then they'll need somebody to send out all of the notices that you have to pay, and then they're going to have to collect, and then they're going to get the sheriff's department involved to go out and make sure you put stuff right in there.
Well, I mean, the garbage, they had a garbage truck on display. It's fancier than the sheriff's cars, and I mean, with all the cameras and
they got cameras in the ones in these
iPads. Talk about technology.
Well, that's unfortunate. So do they have any idea of what they anticipate the increase will be?
They didn't.
No, I mean, I think most of this cost is gonna fall on the manufacturer and marketing.
But waste management will probably pass those costs on.
Well, I mean, I think they're being asked to change their packaging so that all the packaging can be either composted or recycled, and right. I mean, you probably, a lot of packaging is built so that things look nice in the display. Yeah. But that makes it very difficult, because you see this mixed media, right? Like half's cardboard, half plastic. That's very difficult to recycle. So
yeah, so I mean, like simple things like bag of potato chips and things like that.
Yeah,
all change.
So now you'll pay $5 for a 5-ounce bag of potato chips because the packaging
Yeah, so.
Well, I
That's
think that
helpful.
it's, if we can kind of keep this on the dashboard, because certainly it's gonna have an impact to, our constituents
Yeah.
and another increase.
I mean, it's gonna be that and even, going to grocery stores
Yeah.
is gonna change that too,
Yeah.
so.
Yes, I mean, on the good news
Well,
side,
it needs to
short
work.
term, there is actually a reduction in what IWMA is going to be charged.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so you might recall the IWMA fee a couple years ago went up quite a bit with the 5.4%. And then it was reduced last year. It's proposed to be reduced again this year to 3%. So our customers should actually see about a 1% savings on their refuse bill. Once it's implemented, it's not a permanent charge, but it's being lowered. That's partly a result of the county rejoining IWMA and having some more economies of scale.
Yeah.
More customers paying into that cost.
All right, so that's.
Yeah, you're right. That was like 4 weeks ago or something.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that good news.
Well, I just wanted, there is more besides SB 13E3, so. All right, so that's it. We don't have a closed session because we finished it. We had the closed session before our regular meeting, we had it after the workshop, and there's nothing to report from the closed session. And that being said, we could adjourn the meeting, right?
Yes.